Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are conducting a full-blown financial autopsy on some of the most popular casino strategies out there. We're going to look strictly at the raw numbers to uncover the mathematical deception behind progression betting systems. And by the end of this, you'll see exactly why completely avoiding these mainstream strategies is absolutely the best thing you can do for your bankroll.
But right out of the gate, before we even look at a single chart or sequence, I want you to ask yourself one foundational question. If these money management systems truly worked, if simply doubling your bet or following some secret mathematical sequence could actually overcome the house edge, why on earth are casinos still standing? Why are they constantly expanding and building these billion-dollar mega resorts? The answer is literally hiding in plain sight, and today we're going to expose exactly how these systems trap millions of players every single year.
All right, let's dive right into this. You see, the most powerful argument against progression systems actually isn't that you lose every time you play. It's kind of the exact opposite. The reality is players using these systems often win an overwhelming majority of their sessions. We're talking like a 99% win rate. Sounds great, right? Well, the fatal flaw is that the remaining 1% represents a rare, catastrophic loss. These systems basically just exchange frequent tiny wins for rare, absolutely devastating losses that will completely wipe out your bankroll.
Section 1. The Trap of Progressive Bets, Oscar's Grind.
So, Oscar's Grind is this famous progression strategy that a lot of folks consider safer because, well, it doesn't aggressively double your bets after a loss. Instead, you keep your bets flat when you're losing, and you slowly increase them after wins until you hit a small profit target. But here is exactly how the trap gets set. Let's say you start with a $1,000 bankroll, and your goal is to make just $10 a cycle. Because the system is perfectly designed to grind out small wins, you successfully complete 50 cycles. 50 cycles times $10 equals a neat $500 profit. Your bankroll is growing smoothly, and man, you feel untouchable. You feel like an absolute genius, telling your friends you've cracked the code.
But take a look at what happens in the data when variance inevitably strikes. Because Oscar's Grind requires extended winning streaks to close out a cycle, a prolonged losing run forces you to just keep playing. You have to keep escalating those wagers after any occasional win just to recover. Look at this sequence right here. A quick run of 10 straight $10 losses puts you in a serious hole. To dig out, the system eventually demands wagers of 50, 60, 80, and up to $100. And if another losing streak hits before that cycle actually completes, the math catches up with brutal efficiency. The accumulated loss from this single ugly cycle can easily reach $500 to $700. Just really think about the gravity of that for a second. One single bad run just instantly erased dozens and dozens of hard-fought successful cycles. You didn't beat the house edge at all. You literally just delayed the inevitable.
Moving on to Section 2, the D'Alembert Collapse.
Now, the D'Alembert system tells players to simply increase their bet by 1 unit after a loss and decrease it after a win. Honestly, it looks highly sustainable on paper. Compared to the notorious martingale system, the one where you just blindly double your bet, D'Alembert appears super conservative. But let's look at the actual numbers when a cold streak hits. The strategy assumes that winning and losing will balance out quickly. But guess what? The cards don't care what we assume. Long losing streaks happen. Here we're looking at a 10-loss streak. The bets steadily escalate from $10 to $20, $30, all the way up to $100. Your bets are growing larger at the exact moment your bankroll is shrinking the fastest.
10 consecutive losses on this system destroys $550. Over half of a standard starting bankroll, just gone. Imagine a player who spent weeks meticulously grinding out 40 winning sessions at $10 each, earning a solid $400 profit. Then, this one losing streak hits, takes $550, and leaves them with a net loss of negative $150. Weeks of careful, disciplined work completely erased in just minutes. It's heartbreaking.
Section 3. Fibonacci, the safer trap.
A lot of players eventually turn to the famous Fibonacci mathematical sequence, totally believing it's a safe alternative to doubling down. And sure, it's a beautifully elegant mathematical concept in nature, but bringing it into a casino? That is a massive mistake. Let me walk you through it. You start with $10. Following the Fibonacci rules, your bets progress as 10, 10, 20, 30, 50, 80, 130, 210. You get the idea. It's absolutely true that the progression grows slower than a strict doubling system at first, but eventually that compounding effect kicks in and makes it equally ridiculous.
After only 10 losses, a staggering $1,430 is gone. Poof!
And here's the truly terrifying part. To just keep the system going, your very next wager requires risking an astonishing $890. The player is risking nearly an entire bankroll just to recover a tiny, insignificant base profit. It's an extraordinary amount of risk for virtually zero reward.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Labouchere escalation. The Labouchere system is incredibly popular because it feels so structured. You literally write down a line of numbers, say 1, 2, 3, 4, to win a set amount, like $100. You do this by adding the outside numbers to determine your bet, and then crossing them off when you win. But every single loss requires you to add the lost bet to the end of the line, so your line just keeps growing. That initial $50 bet quickly balloons. After a bad run, your line looks like 1 through 10, and suddenly your next wager is $110. One extended losing streak creates absolutely enormous wagers. Players are always so shocked when a system that was carefully designed to win a modest $100 suddenly traps them into risking $500 to $1,000 just to clear the line.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding where the deception actually lies. This is exactly why these mainstream systems are a total mirage and why completely avoiding them is your best bet. Players mistakenly focus entirely on their win percentage. They love strategies that make them feel like a winner most of the time, but mathematics doesn't care about your feelings, and it certainly doesn't care about win frequency. Mathematics focuses strictly on dollars won versus dollars lost. That's the whole shebang.
Let's really crystallize this ultimate paradox of progression betting. Let's say a player wins 99 sessions, averaging $10 a win. That is $990 in profit. Amazing! But then, that inevitable catastrophic session occurs, hitting them for a $1,500 loss. 990 minus 1,500 leaves a net loss of $510. You can literally win 99% of the time, feel like an absolute master of the game, and still go completely broke.
And here's the kicker. None of these mainstream strategies, not Oscar's Grind, not D'Alembert, not Fibonacci, and definitely not Labouchere, change the fundamental mathematics of the game. Every bet you play still has exactly the same mathematical expectation whether you wager $10 or $100. The casino edge remains exactly the same. The cards and the shoe simply do not care what your progression system assumes. Prolonged streaks will happen for sure, and you absolutely cannot overcome a mathematical disadvantage by merely rearranging your wager sizes.
This brings us to a fundamental divide in how players approach the casino. The average losing player spends their entire life searching for the next magic betting system. They constantly ask, what progression should I use? But the skilled player, the one who actually protects their bankroll, they ignore these mainstream traps entirely. They ask one simple question: where is my edge? Because if you don't have a mathematical edge, no betting system in the world is going to magically create one out of thin air.
I want to leave you with this absolute truth. A progression system can change the distribution of your wins and losses. It can change how often you win, and it can certainly change how you feel sitting at the table. But it cannot change mathematics. So the next time someone tries to sell you a foolproof mainstream betting system, you have to stop and ask yourself, are you playing the math, or is the math playing you?